Hello, sweet summer children. I'm back with some juice to get you through the long night. So, in my last video or podcast, I did an episode with Gemma. So, if you haven't seen part 1, watch that first. This is part 2. So, we left off in part 1 where I asked Gemma, why does it appear that all White Walkers are male? And it does appear that way. We've only seen male White Walkers and female Children of the Forest. So we're going to pick up right where we left off. Why are all the White Walkers on the show male? Are there more than what we've seen?
I've got a couple of questions relating to that, and I'm just going to summarize them both because it's essentially the same question. Roshan Shah wants to know basically where are all the women at? Is the Night Queen, was she a special type? Was she a one of a kind? Jared McKinnon has also asked essentially, you know, what's going on with the Night Queen? Where are all the girls? Where are all the Lady White Walkers? Now, the absence of female White Walkers isn't proof that there are no female White Walkers, and we know there are female whites. We've seen that for sure. We've seen children whites as well. But no, we haven't seen on the show or in the books female White Walkers. It could be, and I said this just before we started recording, didn't I? It could be. Now, this is a bit, I don't know. Let's assume that they've got this whole culture going on in the lands of always winter. They've got palaces and or castles or keeps or whatever, and they have a trade system, and they've got education, and they have little White Walker ice prams to wheel the little babies around in, and all sorts of stuff. I mean, the mind boggles. It absolutely does. But let's just assume there's a culture there. I mean, we know that they can communicate. We know they make armor. We know they make weapons. What's not to say that they've sent a specific part of their people on this mission, and these people that we're seeing are the warriors of their kind, like their elite force that's been sent on this mission, while all the women and children and the old folk and the babies are all... I mean, I don't think that's true.
Their elite force is they suck. Because Don chops them up like
he does. I mean, I've been reading. You've read The Ice Dragon, right?
Nope.
Oh, it's such a beautiful story. You have to read it, Gray. You really do. I will go in quickly with the disclaimer that I am aware that George R.R. Martin has said that The Ice Dragon is not canon and it's not set in the same world. Mm-hmm. But if you read The Ice Dragon, I cannot get out of... In my mind, it is. And I think it's clear that because this was written before The Song of Ice and Fire, and I think it's clear that there were very clear inspirations going on here. Can I just read a couple of quotes from The Ice Dragon?
Sure.
Because it's about this little girl. She's called Adara. And so this is chapter 1 of The Ice Dragon. They talked about other things as well. They said it was the chill of that terrible freeze that had killed her mother, stealing in during her long night of labor past the great fire that Adara's father had built and creeping under the layers of blankets that covered the birthing bed. And they said that the cold had entered Adara in the womb, that her skin had been pale blue and icy to the touch when she came forth, that she had never warmed in all the years since. The winter had touched her, left its mark upon her, made her its own. It was true that Adara was always a child apart. She was a very serious little girl who seldom cared to play with the others. She was beautiful, people said, but in a strange, distant sort of way, with her pale skin and blonde hair and wide, clear blue eyes. I mean...
Okay, so she's the Night King's daughter, confirmed.
Or the Night Queen as a child.
Or the Night Queen as a child.
The way I see it, this is... this if this is, I mean, I'm not saying Adara is literally the Night Queen, but there's clear inspiration there.
Yeah. So I was thinking that the Night Queen is Nisa Nisa.
Yes.
Nisa Nisa didn't die. Nisa Nisa became the Night Queen. She had not a Valyrian, she didn't temper a Valyrian steel sword. She got dragon glass plunged into her heart, and she's like a Benjen figure.
That would make a lot of sense, and it would tie in with the 13th Commander lore of he gave his seed to her and she took his soul, wouldn't it?
Right, and that's kind of what I think when we talk about are there only male White Walkers? I am of the belief that there are only male White Walkers, and not to say what you said was wrong. It's just my opinion.
No, I believe I'm completely with you. I'm completely on board. I just like to be devil's advocate sometimes and throw that out there, and you never know. But no, I'm with you because why are they after Craster's babies otherwise?
Right, yeah, like they can't reproduce on their own, and they don't take any of Craster's female children, only his sons.
Which would suggest they don't need them because that's not how they reproduce, maybe?
Yes, they must reproduce by sacrifice.
It would seem so, wouldn't it?
Well, LML had a pretty dope theory that he told me one time about like basically they don't even use the baby's body. Like I'm probably messing up his theory, but the White Walkers basically like create I would say like a man from ice, like a shell, and then like the soul from Craster's kids are transferred into this. I love that.
Because
where do they go to daycare at? Like, where are these babies? While all of this is going on, where are his babies? Not unless the White Walkers aren't Craster's babies and they're just being used as blood sacrifice to feed the trees.
But I mean, the show did give us that scene, didn't it? Where we saw that was the first time we saw the Night King. And there was the 13 and it would, I mean, this was fairly early on. I mean, it depends on what, where do we fall with the canon on this? Do we go book purist and say if we didn't see it in the book, we can't include it? Or because there are certainly elements of the show that have to ring true. And why would they include that scene otherwise?
I think the army, the Night King's army, I think they are Craster's son, but I don't think it happens like that. I think it happens kind of like what LML says, where they like make this being out of ice, just like a snowman basically, and then they transfer this soul into this snowman. I don't know if they like do it through the weirwoods or however they do it, and I think like something like that would be hard to explain on TV. So they had to give us so I think it's kind of like that, because if it's not like that, then like I don't understand how these babies go from little blue-eyed babies to these ugly old White Walkers that are fully grown.
Like granddads, don't they, with the long beards and
they all do. And they're like completely, they're old. They look older than Craster.
Which makes you wonder, I mean, is there something special about Craster's bloodline? Or are they doing this with other wildlings that we're not aware of? We do know that further up north, there are rumors about wildling clans that worship ice gods. So maybe this is going on a lot more than we're aware of, and Craster is the only confirmed example of it. Or there is something special about Craster's bloodline which brings us back to potential Stark or Blackwood or First Men kind of bloodlines, doesn't it?
Yeah, or Targaryen bloodlines.
Yeah.
Which we could go on all day about about bloodlines. But I would like to think that the White Walkers have more than just Craster's sons.
I think so too. I think Craster is the example that we've been given, but I do think there is evidence to be found in the text that would suggest that this is not the only case of this.
Yeah, because and then like how does that get initiated? How does the night like what happens? Like, does the White Walker just come up to your house and say,
"Yo, dude,
give me your baby"? Like, what is that? How does it work? Because like they say that they talk in high, like ice breaking and high pitched squeals. Like, how can he understand that?
This is another question. Another question that I was from Beautiful Dirt on Patreon. She says, my two favorites collaborating, sweet. In the show, the White Walkers seem to screech, which seems quite primitive for beings that appear to be focused with a goal. Do they perhaps communicate like a hive/cell through thoughts and visions? I'm not inclined to think they are just mindless rabble. Now, we know they can communicate with each other because, like you said, in the books, it's described as like a cracking ice, and in the show, it's more of a screeching, wailing kind of screech is the word, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, they can communicate with each other. We've got that. That's the easy part of that question. But the real question is how do they communicate with humans? Because we assume they have, because they made this deal with Craster. Now,
right.
This is really interesting. Now, David Peterson, the guy that created the High Valyrian, the Dothraki language for the show, actually developed an entire spoken language for the White Walkers called Skroth. And then Skroths, Skroth, Skroth. He did it. He did the entire language for the White Walkers, and then they dropped it and decided never to use it. Which is fascinating.
And which is effed up, because if they were talking, we would know what's going on.
Exactly. Especially if we had subtitles. I mean, that would...
Exactly.
Everything would just be so much clearer, right?
Oh, that's crazy. We need to call him up and see what in their language, how do you say certain things?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
the prince who was promised. Or,
because when he developed Dothraki and High Valyrian, of course he didn't develop an entire language. He was very word specific according to what would be required for the show. So, come on, David, just lay it on us. Which words did you use?
Create?
Here?
Yeah, what words did you create?
I mean, Azora High, is there a direct translation? Or I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe Craster just knew about these gods that the wildlings worshipped through oral tradition and lore and legends, and just tried his luck one day and left one of his babies out to see if it would work.
Because it seems like that's what Night's King was doing.
Yes, at the Night Fort, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
So, maybe that legend is what led him just to go sit his baby outside, because it seems like he just sits his baby outside and goes back in the house, and the White Walker just comes and take it. So maybe they don't. Maybe it's just a known thing beyond the wall.
Yeah, I think that's possibly the case. I mean, there is an indication of some kind of, and season 7 certainly suggested some kind of hive mind mentality going on.
Definitely.
And this links back to what you were saying about the Night King being a powerful green seer or a warg, that kind of vibe.
I feel like if he's not a green seer, then the show completely messed up season 7, because you
just for that reason,
just for me, I like season 7, but it's like the whole dragon thing. He had to know that a dragon was coming. There were chains already there, prepared.
He was waiting.
Yes, he was waiting. So he had to see this. And how could he have seen this? Through weirwood.net. And how could he have interfered with Bran's dream?
That whole standoff suggests to me that he was waiting, because the Hound demonstrated 100% that they were literally within a stone's throw distance.
Yes.
And they're stood there with throwing weapons.
Yes.
So
yes.
Why did they not attack straight away when we've been shown emphatically that they could have, and they had the ability to do so, but they chose not to hurl projectile weapons at that small group sat in the middle of there. They could have picked them off quite easily. So he was clearly waiting because he knew that a dragon was coming, and the chains.
And the only way he could know that is, I guess, prophecy, but but prophecy is probably not that literal, but I would say Weirwood.net.
I mean, is there a possibility that the original man that was turned into the Night King in the show in the first instance had his ability to communicate restricted in some way? Because when we see him being turned, he is gagged. And there doesn't seem to be anybody else nearby. Did he need to be gagged for a reason? Would it have mattered if he'd screamed? I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, that's a good point. But maybe, like, for the show, he needed to be gagged because we couldn't hear what he was going to scream.
Because they decided not to use scruff.
Right. No, like when it's happening, he couldn't have said, "I'm Lord Stark of Winterfell. What are you doing to me?" Like, we couldn't hear that because that would have given away too much. But it might have been like,
Bram the Builder. What are you doing with me?
Right. But it might have been like a situation where he was a green seer and that's why they picked him.
Yes. I mean, we've kind of already touched upon this, but do you think what are they after? What do they want? Is this a revenge story for what was taken from him personally, or is this more? I mean, we've kind of established that we don't see him as this ultimate evil villain. There's got to be more to this, right?
Yeah. So I actually think that he wants revenge. I do believe he wants revenge. I think he wants it on the children of the forest, but I also think he wants it on men. And I think that he doesn't want to be the Night King anymore. Like, if there was a way that he could not be frozen and made of ice, maybe that's what he wants. He doesn't. I mean, would you really want to be? I just know if I was a man, I wouldn't want to be with a bunch of other men. All of us ugly. All of us ugly. All of us got chapped lips, bare feet, up in the lands of always winter, miserably cold all the time. And
it doesn't look like good times, does it?
Yeah, my only company is a bunch of dead people that I've animated that I control 100%. Like, that doesn't seem like a happy existence. And what I kind of believe is Nisa might have been his lover.
Yeah.
And she's gone. And I think she's the Night's Queen. She's gone. She ain't coming back. And now he wants to die. But before I die, I'm going to get my revenge on the children of the forest. And I'm going to get my revenge on men.
Yeah. So it's revenge and peace.
And release, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think one thing we can both agree on, regardless of, I mean, because I'm with you. I think it's part revenge. I think it's complex. I think he's lost. He's either trying to regain his Night Queen or understand that she's lost forever, and it's just wrath and anger and resentment and frustration and revenge, but also ultimately peace. There's perhaps some kind of deal or pact that's been broken. He perhaps needs to find a replacement in either Jon or Bran, perhaps. But I think ultimately what we understand is that anybody that thinks this is going to end like a classic tale of good versus evil, like these good guys, they're all going to team up, and the living are going to triumph over the dead, and Jon and Dany are going to ride dragons into battle, and Bran's going to walk a dragon, and Tyrion's going to ride a dragon, and then the super team of good guys are going to take out the White Walkers, and with all their Valyrian steel, and Jon and Dany are going to make out and take the Iron Throne and bring back the summer and all live happily ever after. No, this is not going to happen. I mean, if you think this has a happy ending, you've not been paying attention, right?
Oh, Gemma hit you with the Ramsay Bolton.
I just think it's and I think everybody's focusing on this bittersweet to the point where we're sick of the term bittersweet, and we think this bittersweet's in relation to Jon and the sacrifice that he may or may not have to make.
I hate
what
that.
if the bittersweet was the Night King's bittersweet? His release, his peace.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I like that. And I hate the fact that everyone says Jon has to stab Daenerys. Like, that is... I don't see that anywhere. I don't
it's just so literal, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know why people think that. I mean, to each their own, but...
I mean, hasn't he already stabbed her?
I mean, yeah, they did on the boat. Yeah,
they did the nasty. It's already been done.
Yeah, but I feel like Jon, a lot of people think that Jon is Azor High, and he might be. I could be 100% wrong. I ain't keeping score or anything. But Daenerys fits the Azor High prophecy to a T.
She checks more boxes than anybody else, doesn't she?
Than anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody. Yeah. And I just can't see Jon having to stab her, and that's how they win. I feel like it's not going to have anything to do with any kind of prophecy. It's just going to be a fight to the death.
No, I think this whole Nissa thing, it's already happened, and this is the Night King's story.
Exactly. If Lightbringer is this magical sword that we need, and it's already been forged, why do you need to forge it again?
Exactly.
Find it. It's somewhere.
Yeah.
Find the original Lightbringer. You don't have to reforge it and kill someone else.
But this is we're probably going to have to wrap this up at some point, but there is one more question, and this is relating to the prequels. This is from Mel of Winterfell, and she wrote both of us an essay, didn't she? Thanks for this, Mel. I am going to summarize your question. I love the enthusiasm, but essentially I'm going to break down this huge chunk here to this question. Do you think David and Dan are contractually obliged to leave the Night King story vague due to the prequel or any future shows? Basically, she's worried because we've got this Age of Heroes potential long night kind of vibe with this confirmed pilot that's been greenlit. Does this mean we're not going to get the answers we need in Game of Thrones as far as the Night King goes?
So I don't think that they're contractually obliged. I think that they don't know. I don't think George has told them anything that they don't need to know. And if they don't need to know it, then he's not going to tell them.
Yeah. So,
and I think like it's good that they don't know for them, for HBO.
Does that mean we're not going to get any of these answers in a Game of Thrones, and we'll have to wait even longer?
I don't think we're going to get them. Like, I think we might get some simplified something, like to quench your thirst a little bit. But you're not going to get like no long explanation, like how we got to finally see Rhaegar and Lyanna, and we got Bran telling us he loved her and she loved him, and we found out that it was all a lie, and we got to see everything that happened at the Tower of Joy. We're not going to get that with the White Walkers.
We're not going to get some massive flashback to the original human Night King before he changed. We're not going to see him being the Lord of, or the King of Winter in Winterfell with his loving family. And I think there's a dark side to House Stark. and I think it all connects. I do think the Night King was a Stark, and I think there's a very dark side to House Stark, and it relates to the crypts and what's down there.
Yes.
The circumstances that surround the wall being built, Winterfell being built, and House Stark being established pretty much in one swoop.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I feel like the crypts are probably more important than Winterfell itself.
Oh, 100%, yeah. I cannot see in 6 episodes that I believe are going to be focused very heavily on Jon and Dany. I just cannot see all of these questions being answered.
No, I think that we're gonna get a lot of little pieces of information, like between Bran and Sam, going back and forth. Sam through books, like how Gilly would just spurt out things last year, like Rhaegar. And Rhaegar had an annulment in Dorne, and the same day was married. Like, we might get little spurts like that of information,
little nuggets, little Easter eggs that we can take and run with, or interpret, or theorize, and the speculation will continue long beyond the series end.
Yeah, but I think the main thing that they're going to be trying to do is figure out how to beat him. So Bran is going to be time traveling. I do believe he's going to go back in time, but I don't think he's going to go back so far as to their creation. I think he's going to go maybe to their defeat and see how that was done, but not how they were created.
Because a lot of people believe that was some kind of treaty or pact that was made, because the legend of the Long Nights basically says that they were driven back, they were defeated, but they weren't completely, because they're still there, aren't they? Right. They've come back. So before we do finish up, I just wanted to say thank you for all of the questions that we got on Twitter. I didn't name everybody by name. I didn't read out all of the questions because a lot of them were very similar or kind of a very similar vein. So I kind of smushed a lot of them together. So we were trying to get this broad coverage. Have you got any more questions, Gray, that you pulled out?
Oh, yeah. So Manny asked the same question that we already answered. I basically told everyone to leave me their questions, and they were just so happy that we were collabing together. They didn't leave any questions.
Which is lovely. I got a lot of really, really lovely comments as well. People saying it's about time. We need to do this again, right? And we will get our shit together. Maybe you guys could suggest in the comments. This one's going out on Gray's channel, so we'll do something on mine in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, let us know in the comments what you want us to talk about. Make it something juicy, something that can get us through the long night. Gemma, thanks for coming and talking White Walkers with me. Hopefully we've given you more answers than questions and you've enjoyed the listen.
Yeah, we've probably not given more answers than questions.
I think we gave a lot of answers in there.
We did. I'm quite pleased that we picked such a broad theory-driven topic. So give us, like Grace said, something super juicy for the next one that we can really pick apart.
We'll knock it out of the park for you guys. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone that supports me on Patreon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and join the Sweet Summer family. Okay, my sweet summer children. Have a good day.
Shame.